So the TTCF stock went up over 11% this week and was not because of their earnings only. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing and smashing that like button since it really helps the channel out with the algorithm. So today we are going to talk about the TTCF, everything that they have announced lately that will be huge for their company and many more. First, the stock did not move at all with their earnings, but went up 10% in a single day because of some news that I'm sure you already heard about, but want to give you guys my opinion on this. First of all, the stock started dropping weeks or months ago because the CFO left the company and then there was a new person coming in and taking his position, but this person was already working with the TTCF before. And then at the same time, their CEO sold shares at $10 per share, which sent the stock down really fast as well. But let me tell you something about CEOs or anyone in the management team selling their shares. Obviously, it all depends, but this is something that does not concerns me a lot. CEOs and people within the company sell shares from now and then to take some money, pay some bills, many reasons. It does not mean that they don't believe in the company anymore. No, we can't know why they are really selling those shares that much, but it is not something new. Jeff Bezos sells shares every time he wants to. That it is weird that they sold at a very low price, yes, but did it affect the company? No. Maybe they needed the money at that moment and that was all. We can't know. Also, the amount of shares that he sold was nothing compared to what he still owns. That does not concern me at all right now. But then the great news started. First, they announced that they entered into an agreement to acquire New Mexico food distributors, which they already completed that acquisition for $37 million in cash. Foods of New Mexico produces ready-to-eat Mexican food items for both retail and food services. This acquisition diversifies the TTCF's manufacturing capabilities, expands production capacity, and accelerates the company's expansion outside frozen food, which I think they will start doing shortly. They start expanding into snacks and non-frozen foods or things like that and expand into other markets. Then their earnings came, but still that was not the thing that moved the stock by 10% or even more. Let's check their earnings and then we'll talk about the latest news. Now, branded revenue increased 105% in the first quarter across the mass, club, and grocery channels, driven by successful products launches, which we will talk about that success later on. And obviously, this is incredible because, in my opinion, their branded products should be their main focus at the moment. Their revenue was $52.7 million, all the way up from $33.2 million, which is a 59% growth year over year. Gross profit of $13.7 million or 26% gross margin compared to 28% last year. Net loss was $7.9 million compared to a net income of $5.9 million last year, and we will see why their expenses increased that much. Lastly, reported an adjusted EBITDA loss of $3 million. As we can see in their income statement, they had a nice growth as we mentioned before, but we have to take into consideration that their expenses increased from $2 million to $20 million. It is a massive increase in expenses since now they report a net loss because of that, but this is something that we saw in the previous quarter as well. Those expenses increased because they had $3.2 million of stock-based compensation, $2.6 million in marketing expenses, $2.6 million more in public company and new employees costs, which are normal costs to see with this new companies going public, and $1.9 million in promotional expenses to invest in customers with promotional offers. To be honest, all of those expenses are necessary for a company to grow, and even more for such company like the TTCF that is growing at 59% year over year and expanding really fast within their industry. And why do I say they're expanding fast? Well, as they said in their earnings call, we continue to successfully execute our growth strategy to grow the TTCF brand in the categories in which we compete. They ended 2020 with products in 4,300 stores and 23,000 points of distributions. Ended quarter one, 6,065 stores and 31 1,000 points of distributions. That is a 41% growth for stores and 30% for points of distributions, and are expecting to end Q2 with 1,162 more stores and 8,000 new points of distributions. As I said with TrueLeaf stocks, if that is not rapid expansion, I don't know what it is. Now, on their balance sheet, they ended Q1 with $185 million in cash, which will change for Q2 as they spent $37 million in cash for the New Mexico acquisition. Accounts receivable more than doubled and inventory stayed almost flat. Total current assets of $267 million with a nice growth, and total asset of $332 million. Then their current liabilities increased a bit to $41 million and total liabilities increased to $44 million, which is nothing compared to their assets and current assets. So it is very nice balance sheet, a very healthy one for a high growth company like the TTCF and a very fast expanding company like them. They have a current ratio of 6.40, which is excellent since it means that they have way more money than necessary to cover their short-term liabilities, and that gives them the possibility to use that money to acquire businesses or just invest in their own company to continue seeing such growth. Now, the news that made the stock go up over 10% in a single day was mainly that the TTCF launched vegetables products in Whole Foods Market stores nationwide. Right now, we could find organic greens and zucchini spirals in Whole Foods. Right now, it is only bad, but with time, I would assume that if Whole Foods see a nice volume, they will give more and more space for the TTCF to start selling more and more products, which I think it is possible because, as they said in their earnings call, we saw extraordinary demand for the TTCF entry bowl line and beat our launch plan velocity expectations. Target said it was the most successful frozen food launch in the history of Target. That is a huge compliment for the TTCF, as they were not the first ones to start selling this kind of food on Target, but were definitely the most successful ones, because I would assume that there was a lot of volume for the product. So I would expect something similar to happen in Whole Foods, as Whole Foods is a market focused on healthy choices, plant-based food, vegan and all that. This means that it is a matter of time for the TTCF to enter into other brands as well. Obviously, being in Whole Foods is huge as well, because it will help them with their branding and making people that try to eat healthy or vegan that buy in Whole Foods and not in places like the Target to know and learn more about their brand. Also, because Whole Foods is now owned by the king of e-commerce, Amazon, which is a huge opportunity for the company and could definitely help boost their revenue. That is why their stock went up that much in a single day. Now, we need to understand that there is a lot of short interest around this company, as many people see it only as a food company that will have a top and will stop growing sooner than later. Right now, the current short volume is 13 million shares, up from 8 million shares, which is equal to $231 million. That is 27% short percentage of float. And as you can see, that short interest has increased a lot lately, which is something that we need to keep in mind, because sooner or later, if the stock continues these uptrends, Wall Street will need to start covering those positions if they haven't already. Now, they raised their guidance for 2021. They expect a revenue of between $235 to $242 million, which would be a growth of 58 to 60% year over year, as they expect about $222 million from their base business and between $30 to $20 million contribution from one of the two facilities from the Food of New Mexico acquisition. Gross margin of between 20 to 25% and adjusted EBITDA between $2 to $4 million. Analysts are expecting the stock to go as low as $19 per share or as high as $27 per share. Other analysts say that their fair value is $31 per share, even though these analysts were also saying that they were expecting $27 per share to be their fair value. We do have to take into consideration that Wall Street is shorting the stock, so I would not expect huge expectations from them or from analysts, and that is why I don't like to see their stock price forecast, but wanted to show you guys what they are expecting in the short term, or at least in the next 12 months. My thoughts on all this are simple. The TTCF have a huge potential, and even more with their newest deal. I see them expanding even more into new markets with new kind of products. And if Target continues seeing such growth with the TTCF, other brands might want the same, which could help their expansion and visibility. I do think that we need to keep in mind two things. First, that Target just reported earnings last week, I think, and they reported revenue growth of about 20 to 25%, which means that more and more people are entering their stores year over year, which means that more and more people will continue learning and seeing more things about the TTCF, which could help as well with the growth of the company. We also need to take into consideration the short interest as it is increasing, because as always, Wall Street is seeing it as a food company and nothing more, that will not be able to grow even more. To be honest, I do believe that in the coming 3 to 5 years, we could see, or they could see, a huge growth and expansion year over year as they have been doing, and that is why I'm investing in this company right now. It is not my biggest position at the moment as I'm heavily invested in Wish and Fubo, but could say that I check this company a lot as well, as their growth has been incredible in the past 2 years with their branded products, which I think it is incredible. Thank you everyone for watching. Smash that like button and subscribe since it really helps the channel out with the algorithm. Thank you and see you next time.